One of the biggest reasons Canelo Alvarez has become so good at pressuring and walking down taller opponents is because he's constantly showing different looks while pressuring. Canelo is able to mentally wear down his opponents by pressing them back while showing different looks, and each time he does this, the available openings to punch him change. His opponents often become gun-shy because the one opening Canelo might show could be a trap. So with Smith on the ropes, he's going to look to circle out to escape the ropes, and Canelo's going to cut off the ring by moving in the same direction. And you see, as Canelo steps to cut off the ring, he knows a smart thing that Smith could do is jab him mid-step. So Canelo preemptively slips the jab that didn't come, but Canelo is now a sitting duck here, so what is he going to do? Instead of coming back up to where he was and possibly being met with a jab, Canelo slips to the other side unpredictably and shows a different look. This means Canelo is now open for a hook instead of a jab in this position. As you see, Canelo pulls back onto his rear foot to take away the opening of the hook and show a different look. Notice how Smith still hasn't punched despite the openings being present. And then we see Canelo change levels to show another look, and then he leans in. So Canelo leans in as a final look to bait out a punch he could counter since he noticed Smith won't throw a punch. By leaning forward with his guard up, Canelo can look to catch and shoot, or pull counter if Smith decides to throw. Except he doesn't take the bait, so Canelo pops him with the jab, and a left hook for a going away present. Callum Smith was so confused watching Canelo give him different looks, it was as though he was hypnotized by his head movement, standing there like he was starstruck and gets woken up by this stiff jab. This goes to show how effectively you could confuse your opponent by doing this, and the most important detail is that Canelo is moving forward the entire time while doing this. This will add on the pressure and push Callum Smith back. And you see the same thing in this situation where Canelo leans in with his guard up to bait the punch. When the punch comes, he simply pulls back and avoids it. So when Canelo leans in again with his guard up, Smith hesitates to throw again since he knows it's just a bait and Canelo's going to try to avoid it. So he just pops him with a jab again instead of waiting for a punch to counter. And just a few seconds later, Canelo does his misdirection left hook, where he starts the arc like he's going to the liver, but ends up at the head. For a more in-depth breakdown on this trick, I've made an entire video on it where I say liver about 69 times, but this is a trick Canelo has done to many of his recent opponents. And here we see the same situation where Canelo's going to lean in while coming forward, and this draws the jab, which he deflects with his high guard. Because his leaning in, he could simply pull back to avoid the looping shot, and then you see he continues to dodge punches. But here we notice that he actually switches over to a Philly shell defense, showing Callum Smith another look. So Canelo is able to block the body jab using this Philly shell. And see, once again, Canelo leans in while coming forward, and once again Smith is hesitant to throw because he knows Canelo is baiting him. In the previous segment, he just leaned in and dodged every single punch he threw. And then we see Canelo pop the waiting Callum Smith once again. Another big reason Canelo has become so effective at walking down bigger opposition is because he's so hard to feint. Canelo is so difficult to effectively feint because whenever he does bite on a feint, he recognizes it and immediately changes his position before his opponent can capitalize on the opening. As you can see, Canelo is pressuring Smith once again, and then we see that Smith's feint causes Canelo to react by stepping back. This doesn't leave Canelo open for anything, but he did just give up valuable ring space. Noticing that he just fell for a feint, Canelo immediately leans in to bait a punch that he could counter again. As you see, this time Smith feints with his right hand and Canelo bites on it by pulling back to dodge the looping right hand he thought was coming. This leaves Canelo open for a punch up the middle, whether it's a jab or a straight. So what is Canelo going to do? Is he going to stand there and get chin checked, or is he going to try something else? Canelo quickly recognizes the opening and slips his head to change his head slot. He doesn't need to see the punch coming. By recognizing where he is open after falling for the feint, Canelo doesn't let his opponent capitalize on the opportunity. And then Canelo takes this opportunity to continue dodging punches, which I'm not going to show because I don't want to get copyrighted. But eventually he gets Callum Smith to hesitate when he leans in, and he just pops him with another jab. And even though Callum Smith didn't pose any problems for Canelo, he did show us some tactics that could be used against them. So when Canelo leans in, he's baiting a punch to his head so he could pull back. However, his body cannot be pulled back the same way and is a very good target to aim for. And as they say, body shots open up the head shots. And the other thing Smith showed us is that when Canelo is leaning forward, you could wait for the jab to come and use that opportunity to get to the center of the ring after you dodge it. Or you could try to counter him if you're feeling ballsy enough. And that's going to do it for this one. As always, thank you all for watching. If you liked what you saw and want to see more, subscribe to the channel for more, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Have a happy new year.